Okay, so let's start with that image, that really powerful image of the falling man from 9/11. Just think about that solitary figure, the devastation.
It's incredibly haunting. Stays with you.
Right. Now picture something similar, but 50 years later, a fictional 9/11, 2051 this time, hitting one World Trade again.
And out of that fictional disaster, we get Down Man.
Exactly, down, man. It's more than just a location, isn't it? It's this whole landscape shaped by that loss, that history. And really, it becomes this battleground over what identity even means.
Which is central to Michael Arturo's story, Down Man 2084. That's our main source today.
Yeah.
He uses that future trauma, that imagined event, as the foundation. It's not just scenery.
No, definitely not. The city itself feels like a character embodying this societal wound and maybe an attempt to, I don't know, control the messiness of being human.
Yeah, and our second source, The Scrambled Mind of Aramandi, really drills down into how that control is enforced. It gets pretty disturbing.
It does. So our mission for this deep dive really is to unpack all of that. We want to get inside Arturo's vision, this future where surveillance is total and your identity is basically state property, data.
And the core struggle is over that identity. Who gets to define you? What happens when someone like Irides tries to take that power back?
Yeah. We're hoping for some real aha moments here, exploring control, perception, and maybe finding some sign of the human spirit surviving in all this.
Well, if we look at Down Man itself, in the 2070s, it's presented as this shadow city. A refuge, kind of, for the ungoverned.
The ones who don't fit into the neat boxes the rest of society wants.
Right. It's lawless, chaotic. Arturo calls it the place where humanity's frayed edges show up again after the 2051 attack.
So it's not just rubble, it's like a living elegy, a constant reminder of falling, of gravity both physical and historical.
Exactly. And that sets the stage for this idea of the test tube generation in the late 2050s.
Oh yeah, that's chilling. It suggests a society so traumatized, it tries to literally engineer out unpredictability. Like, let's just design humans who won't cause trouble.
Which leads us directly to Irides. He wasn't born. He was grown, developed.
Genetically engineered, mind chip included, right, to optimize his thinking, control his emotions.
His whole life path was meant to be rigid, predictable, predetermined.
But something goes wrong. Or maybe, right, depending on how you look at it.
Well, the official story calls it a malfunction. His chip gets altered somehow. But it doesn't just break. It unlocks something unexpected.
Improvisation, intuition.
And crucially, music. Things that weren't part of the plan. A complete contrast to his peers with their, streamlined minds.
It's like this unplanned deviation, this spark. He starts hearing rhythm in circuits, melodies and data streams.
Yeah, this internal shift. And it leads him to ditch the labs and head for Down Man.
Into the chaos, and that's where he becomes this underground legend.
Playing these retro-electro keyboards, creating a sound that's pure defiance against the whole system of compliance.
The compliance acts, Big Other, the whole surveillance state.
Where your identity is basically a prison sentence.
Yeah.
And Big Other is always watching. Screens, drones, everything.
And Irides' music is the soundtrack to resisting that. Until the shooting.
Right. The Sentinel drone incident.
Oh,
Just a glancing burn, the text says. But the impact on his chip, catastrophic.
That's the massive turning point, isn't it? The music stops.
It does.
Yeah.
But the malfunction, this forced reboot of his neural implant, it does something else. It gives him this terrifyingly clear view into the system.
So instead of music, he suddenly sees, the architecture of control?
Exactly. Surveillance networks, firewalls, identity registries, all the raw data that underpins the state's power. It's like the music got translated into code.
And from that chaos, he figures out the chameleon code.
Yes. And the key insight there, the absolute core of it, is that in this world, identity as the state sees it isn't real. It's just a data set.
Just information points, fingerprints, scans, records.
And if it's just data,
it can be changed, rewritten.
Precisely. So he develops the first version of Chameleon Tech, technology that can rewrite your biometric signature in real time.
Wild. So he could just become someone else. Instantly.
Yeah, the examples are vivid. 1 second he's a wanted man, the next an ordinary worker, then an old woman, then someone who never even existed. The musician becomes an artist of identity itself.
It really makes you think about our own digital IDs, doesn't it? How real are they?
It absolutely does. And this tech, this discovery, is what fuels the chameleon uprising.
Right. Flash forward to 2084. Big Others keep this near-total grip, tracking everyone. But Irides is now a ghost in the machine, a legend.
More than a man. And he uses that. The holographic projection in Fallen Towers Park, what a symbol that must have been.
Declaring an end to the old ways, the birth of the chameleons, and then activating the app.
That public demo, showing everyone identity shipping right before their eyes. You can imagine the reaction in Downman. Electrifying.
The march starts, people finally feeling like they can break free.
But Big Other is ready. The trap at Plutopia Plaza. Riot police. Drones. That's the expected part.
Okay, so what's the unexpected part?
The real weapon isn't the batons or the tear gas. It's information. Or rather, disinformation.
The narrative control.
Exactly. The corporate news immediately labels Irides a fugitive hacker, gives him a new name, Jabari Okoro.
So they start fighting perception, not just people.
That's the key. In this world, controlling the illusion of truth is paramount. And here's the truly insidious part. They use Irides' own core idea against him.
How do you mean?
They exploit the very fluidity of identity that Chameleon Tech is based on. If identity can be anything.
Then maybe Irides isn't Irides.
Precisely. They fabricate an entire criminal past for this Jabari Okoro. A detailed paper trail. Enough plausible dirt to plant doubt.
Doubt among his own followers, that's brutal.
It's devastatingly effective. The movement stalls, not because people are scared of the police necessarily.
But because they're scared, they've been lied to, scared their leader is a fraud.
Exactly. The irony is just crushing. The central idea of his revolution is turned into the weapon that dismantles it.
So whoever controls identity controls reality. That seems to be the lesson.
In this world, absolutely.
Yeah.
Relabel someone radical to criminal, truth teller to conspiracy theorist, and you change how they're perceived, how they're treated. You erase them by replacing them.
Which brings us to the scrambled mind of Irides and that interrogation.
Yeah, it's grim. A total sensory overload. High-pitched sounds, electric shocks, his chip constantly rebooting, fracturing his memories.
Designed purely to break him down.
Completely. And when they ask his name, after all that, the response is automatic, certain, Jabari Okoro.
The implant worked. The false identity is locked in.
And it's terrifying how easily he seems to access this fake history. He believes it fully.
He thinks Irides was the fabrication.
Yes, he dismisses his real past, even regrets creating Chameleon Tech, convinced he was somehow misled or manipulated back then.
And there's no feeling, no sense of loss.
The text emphasizes his lack of emotion. Just this cold acceptance of the new identity, ready to make a public statement. It shows how deep the technological manipulation can go.
Chilling. And then the show trial. Pure spectacle.
Oh, absolutely. Designed for maximum impact. Huge, cold space, floodlights, cameras everywhere, streaming it all. It's a lesson being taught.
And the key moment is his confession, stating his name is Jabari Okoro.
And the reaction in Downman, immediate riot. People feel utterly betrayed. They believe the lie.
Which is exactly what the prosecutor wanted.
Precisely. Then comes the forced denouncement of his own technology, calling Chameleon Tech misguided, a threat. His answer is just a whisper. Yes.
Total defeat. And the price for this fake freedom?
He has to hand over control of Chameleon Tech to the state and publicly confess, again, to being Jabari Okoro, erasing Irides completely.
The gavel falls. End of story for Irides, the revolutionary.
But not quite the end of the story for the tech. The aftermath is maybe the most cynical part.
What happens to Chameleon Tech?
It gets repackaged, becomes Chameleon Elite, a luxury product.
For who?
The rich and powerful, of course, marketed as digital privacy for them, while mass surveillance just carries on for everyone else.
Wow. So the tool of liberation becomes a tool of exclusion.
The ultimate irony. And Irides, now living as this despised Jabari Okoro, is released. The name Irides is basically taboo.
He must see his tech being used by the elite, the ones he fought against.
An unbearable reality. Constant harassment, no support. And then, after just 7 days of this parody of freedom, he's taken.
By who?
The unseen. Kidnapped quietly. He doesn't even resist. Seems like his purpose is just gone.
Where do they take him?
To the last standing tower in Downman, that symbol of falling. They are his former followers, masked, seeking vengeance against the man they believe is Jabari Okoro.
They don't know it's him. They think they're punishing the traitor.
They're completely convinced by Big Other's narrative.
Yeah.
And the beating he takes there, it triggers something.
On another chip malfunction.
A final, catastrophic reboot. His real memories, his identity as Irides, surges back in his final moments.
Oh, God. So he realizes...
He realizes his own followers, the people he tried to free, are killing him because they believe the lie. The ultimate betrayal, engineered by the system.
His last words.
They played us all, acknowledging the depth of the manipulation.
And then he falls from one world trade. The symmetry is intentional,
A
obviously.
horrifying echo.
Mm.
The unseen are just executioners, carrying out what they think is justice on Jabari Okoro. His fall feels almost like penance.
And in those final seconds, the thoughts are about identity, control, illusion. The fake persona fades, Irides flickers back, then gone.
But even after that, the world doesn't instantly change. No revolution happens overnight.
Prutopia is fine. Surveillance continues. Downman just stays quiet.
Pretty much. It's a bleak picture. But then, there's Aya.
Right, this new figure. Who is she?
Mysterious. She watches him fall. No emotion described, just calculation, waiting for the body to land.
Not grief, then. Something else.
Precision. She approaches the body, looking for something specific. The neural core. The part of the mind chip that maybe couldn't be fully rewritten.
The core of Irides.
She finds it. Fractured, damaged, but still humming, apparently, carrying the heat of memory.
And she asks herself, what can you do with a ghost?
Yeah. And her decision isn't about bringing him back. It's salvage, refusal, a quiet rebellion against letting him be totally erased.
So the story doesn't really end with his death?
No, the narrative suggests these powerful ideas, these stories of resistance, they don't just vanish. They encode themselves, scatter, wait.
Like seeds.
Exactly. We start seeing hints of it in Downman. New whispers, not just fear, but remembrance. And these unauthorized patches appearing on facial scramblers.
With a symbol.
A new or maybe old symbol.
Yeah.
A prism of fractured light. Like Irides' fragmented identity, maybe.
So hope becomes contraband. Passed along quietly.
Seems like it. Aya guards the chip. It's not a leader, not a person anymore. It's a seed. The idea that identity, once you've tasted freedom, can't ever be fully caged again.
Leaving us with those big questions.
Who decides who we are? And what happens when we dare to decide for ourselves?
So pulling it all together, this deep dive into Downman 2084 and the scrambled mind, it really gives us this chillingly believable future. Identity is fluid, yes, but it's ultimately controlled.
Yeah, the power of perception of the manufactured truth is immense. Irides' revolution used the system's own logic, malleable identity, but the system proved better at playing that game.
And for you listening, we've journeyed through this really complex world, looked at identity, control from different angles, hopefully uncovered some, surprising connections, maybe those aha moments about how fragile truth can be.
And also about resilience, maybe, even in the face of that kind of overwhelming surveillance state.
Right. So the final thought to leave you with is this. Think about our world now. Digital footprints, manipulated information. It's not science fiction, is it?
Not entirely.
So how do we protect our own sense of self? How do we push back against the forces trying to define us? Is that illusion of truth the most powerful form of control we face? And maybe, what can we actually do to keep our critical thinking sharp and protect those seeds of our own authentic identity?